I'm Lance Lysowski, the Sabres beat writer for the Buffalo News. It's mailbag time. I'm sure you saw the article on the website or in the paper. If you haven't, please check it out. It would have been in the paper on July 14th. If you're catching this early, late, somewhere in between, it'll be online sometime this weekend. But I like to take one of the questions I'm asked and answer it in a video format. Gives me more time to answer, a more runway to add on to add context, which I may not have space for otherwise. So let's dive in. Irma Gersh, thank you, of course, for another question. A lot of really good ones this week, so I appreciate everybody who participated. If you're ever interested, find me on Twitter, LLYSOWSKI, or you can email me, LLYSOWSKI@buffnews.com. Irma, thank you, Irma. Does the signing of James Reimer mean the Sabres are planning to keep Devon Levi in Rochester for one more season? It does not. The Sabres have made it clear through their comments, Kevin Adams in particular, really over the past 4 months, that Devon Levi, in their opinion, wasn't sent to Rochester for performance reasons. He was sent to Rochester for game experience, development opportunities, as Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen took over the crease in Buffalo. And let's be honest, it wasn't exactly a great situation the last 5 to 6 weeks of the season when we all knew the Sabres were missing the playoffs and the writing was on the wall for a coaching change. The Sabres brought in James Reimer to be their third goalie. Now, I understand the question, Irma. It is a good one. I think that it's not the only time I've been asked this since the Sabres signed James Reimer to a one-year contract. And the reason for that is that Reimer was given a one-way deal. Don't get caught up in that fact. A player at this stage of his career isn't going to sign a two-way, especially, Reimer in not a regular starting role, of course, in Detroit last season. The Red Wings had 3 goalies, so he didn't get a ton of opportunity. His 25 games played were his lowest total in an 82-game season since 2019-20. So not a lot, but he put his save percentage with the Red Wings was .904. That's above league average. If you look at the analytics for James Reimer, he's 36 years old. I understand that piece of it, but according to Evolving Hockey, goals saved above expected, 7.06. That is a very good number. And this is a goalie that analytically, despite playing in some less than ideal circumstances the last few years, particularly those in San Jose, he's rated very well analytically for the most part. He still can play. And the Sabres, as I've discussed in these videos, as I've written really since April, they were going to have trouble finding an established third goalie who can give you quality NHL games. Think about it. After the last 2 years with Eric Comrie getting stuck in a 3-goalie depth chart, Comrie not really, of course, injuries played into it. He didn't perform all that great when he did get the crease, but anybody from the outside, any free agent looking at this situation may think, well, I'm probably not going to get a good opportunity in Buffalo, or I could easily get caught in a 3-goalie depth chart. I could easily just get sent to Rochester immediately. Not easy to recruit somebody under those circumstances. So to be able to get Reimer on a one-year deal, it was going to require the Sabres to overpay a bit. And there also is strategy in overpaying. They gave him $1 million, which is a lot for a third goalie in the traditional sense. But when you're basically, we know, based on the comments Kevin Adams has made, based on even the comments that Devon Levi made at the end of their Amerks playoff series when they lost to the Syracuse Crunch, the expectation is he'll be in the NHL in the fall. I agree with it. Whether you do or not, however you want to look at this, they are going to put the 22-year-old in a rotation in Buffalo. We'll see how that goes. Lindy Ruff's approach as a head coach is going to be far different than that of Don Granato, who didn't exactly hide his thoughts on Devon Levi and how he viewed him. It was very apparent through usage, through the comments that Granato made throughout the season, that he views Devon Levi as being better than Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I don't think that's a stretch necessarily. And Granato was willing to really allow Devon Levi to follow that non-traditional path to establishing himself in the NHL. Now, typically an NHL team, the traditional number of games played in the minors is 100 between the ECHL, the American Hockey League, and Europe. That's the number that a lot of organizations use to prepare their goalies to break through at this level. Even elite prospects. You know, you're talking about Connor Hellebuck. Even outstanding NCAA goalies have followed this same path. There have been exceptions, of course, and I understand why the Sabres have told themselves and have convinced themselves that Levi doesn't need a traditional path. You think back to what he did in college, World Juniors, the success he had in 7 games after signing with Buffalo in an entry-level contract. He almost got them to the playoffs. He played some really good games last season, despite having a sub-900 save percentage. Remember him winning at Vegas, Montreal. Like, he played some really good hockey. It's just the inconsistency was there in terms of the decisiveness, the quick movements, cutting down angles. There were times he played too small. You can't have that. Will Lindy Ruff feel comfortable rotating goalies when Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen may be the guy who gives him the best chance to win? We'll see. It's an unanswered question. So bringing in Reimer on this deal, he's coming in as the number 3. That's obvious. But they gave him that $1 million deal in part because it increases the odds that he'll pass through waivers without getting claimed. A contender is not going to want to spend $1 million of cap space on a goalie like James Reimer. Although he has a career save percentage of .910, he's played 14 years in the league, he's 36 years old, leadership at the position. You know, there's other issues I know fans have that have been raised the last couple of years when it comes to Reimer and decisions he's made. I'm not going to litigate that. We're not going to litigate it in this video. The fact of the matter is, this is probably as good as the Sabres are going to get in terms of a number 3 goalie. You pay a little extra, fine, you can afford to do it. Helps you pass them through waivers. James Reimer being the starter in Rochester is by far the best scenario I could have come up with. I wouldn't have expected they'd be able to lure somebody like that, and he can come up and play NHL games if you need him to. Good last season in Detroit. I'll throw away 22-23 on the Sharks when that team was really bad. But he played 48 games with the Sharks in 21-22, and goals saved above expected was 5.9. And this is Hockey Reference. The numbers are going to vary depending on what you're looking at. Evolving Hockey, Hockey Reference is different. The fact he was an above average goalie in a large sample size of games, 48 games, on a bad team. So if you have an injury in the NHL, you could trust Reimer to come up. If Levi struggles, has a challenging camp, or you get to the point early in the regular season where Lindy Ruff says, listen, I can't find games for Devon Levi right now. Luukkonen's on a roll. We've seen that he plays well when he's in a rhythm. I don't want to disrupt that on a season where this team needs to make the playoffs. The expectation is playoffs. And if they don't accomplish that goal, we all know what that could lead to. More changes. So with everything they've done this offseason, it's clearly in a win-now mindset. So to navigate that while rotating 2 goalies, the Boston Bruins were able to do it with Allmark and Swayman. It worked extremely well, but it doesn't work well everywhere. Not every goalie thrives in that type of environment. So the Sabres have given themselves some insurance here to where if they feel that Levi needs to play in Rochester on a team that should be young, but effective, promising. We'll see how they do early in the regular season. They've struggled early in the season the past couple. Mike Leone taking over as coach. We'll see what that looks like. But it could be the perfect spot for Levi to continue his development. He's only played 61 games between the NHL and the AHL since signing. So there's definitely some room there where they can evaluate this going forward. I would put James Reimer's odds at making the Sabres opening night roster at less than 1%. Based on everything we've seen, everything we've heard, Levi and Luukkonen are their plan. But this at least gives them some protection if something unexpected were to happen. And, James Reimer, I'll repeat that fact. I don't think there was anybody else available who would be a realistic addition that could fill this role better than Reimer has the potential to for this team this season. So another fascinating storyline. I know I was asked in the mailbag, you'll see my answer in there, what training camp is going to look like. Bringing in Reimer gives them another number 3 with fewer question marks that you could bring to Germany for that exhibition game. You've got, I think, 4 to 5 practices in Czechia before you open the season against the Devils. I expect them to bring 3 goalies before they have to trim down their roster to play that first game. It helps rotate guys in. You could do more in practice. You've got a back-to-back to start the season, so you're probably going to see Luukkonen in Game 1, Levi in Game 2. Reimer can be sent down before then to pass through waivers. At least he will be because of the roster deadline. So you have the potential here. You protect yourself a little bit. We'll see how that goes. How's the competition on D going to play out? What are the Sabres going to do in their top 6? Who's going to be at right wing on the third line? There are so many layers to this training camp under Lindy Ruff that are going to be fascinating. And the Buffalo News will be there for you every step of the way. I'm Lysowski. Have a great day.